But now we move to the final segment of every episode of the Rondo, our Premier League picks. And Josh, there's still a game to be played tonight, but I've kind of rounded up and tallied up the scores as it stands. And even if I win tonight's game, I've lost the match day because I went for the underdogs, the upsets. Some say I did for the content, but yes, I have lost this match day. So you're one up in the hunt for the jersey.
Get in.
Before we jump into our picks for the following match day, any standout moments, highlights for you?
Yeah, it wasn't a great round of the Premier League, which is why I wanted to talk about Serie A instead. I mean, there was ostensibly a goal rush on Saturday night, so they call it when you're watching on Optus, but no one seemed to be in a particular rush to score a goal. There was only one in the entire first half of all those games. There's simultaneous kickoffs put together, and it was the Ronaldo, tap-in. So Why do you say that? That was not meant. I just meant it was, not an exhilarating goal aesthetically. Later on in that game, of course, Bruno Fernandes scored one of the most satisfying long-range strikes you're likely to see. But it wasn't a great round of the Premier League. I thought probably the most entertaining or exciting game was probably the Crystal Palace Tottenham match, which ended in a massive upset.
And you know what? I'm glad that you brought it up because I have to apologise to all Crystal Palace fans. Electric. Crystal Palace dominated. It was awesome to watch. I'm all in.
Yeah.
I'm all in. They were incredible. Odson Edouard off the bench, two goals. They've got young Michael Olise.
28 seconds it took him to score his first goal in the Premier League on his debut, which is a new record. And he scored twice. It was ridiculous. And it also just showed how much he's been mailing it in for Celtic in the first few games because he wanted to leave. He looked like he just didn't give two shits in the Old Firm derby. So it was a different Odson Edouard. And I also very much enjoyed the extremely London dispute between Tanganga and Wilfried Zaha.
I thought I was watching UFC for a second.
It was
when he had him in like a lock, and I was like, "What is going on here?" But it was good. It was a fiery game. Enjoyed
some of the jarring back and forth. I think he called him a pussyo, which
which you should never say again.
Definitely not.
But also my highlight on the weekend. Do you remember when I mentioned Hwang Hee-chan as a dark horse in the transfer? Gets on the score sheet. Not the prettiest goal. But was happy to see the South Korean get off the mark.
Did you hear the Korean commentary of that goal? You should check it out. It's pretty spectacular. And I also learned, looking up Hwang Hee-chan after that podcast, that his nickname is the Bull, which in Korean is Hwangso. So it's like a pun on his name, which I love puns. So I'm all on board Hwangso and the Bull bandwagon.
I love it. Well, let's take a look at match day 5 because now I'm one down on the score sheet. I don't know whether I should just keep going with the
just
underdogs.
Do what your heart says, Ryan, and let me win the shirt at the end of the season.
You need to shut up. That's what you need to do. First game, Newcastle, Leeds United.
Give me Leeds.
Talk to me.
Give me Leeds. Newcastle are a mess.
Leeds.
And
it's a tough one though, right? Because both of them haven't been performing that well. But I think I'm with you. Leeds have had the better performances, unlucky against Everton and Burnley not to get more points there. And they've played United and Liverpool in the other games. So I think you're right. I'm going to go with you on this one. I'm going to go Leeds. Next game up, Wolves, Brentford.
Tough one, but I think Wolves at home gives them the edge. And I've been quite impressed with some of their performances. They haven't really quite clicked on all fronts, but Trincão's been playing well. I quite like Daniel Podence, who's I think he's the smallest player in the league, but he always beats players, and obviously Hwang Hee-chan we already mentioned. So they've got some attacking weapons now. I think at home, I'll give them the edge over a newly promoted side.
This is a tough one for me because I did go for Brentford last time because I like them. I like
and
how
you
they
got
run
burned.
their club. And I did. In the
very 90th minute.
Look, it's hard to look past Wolves. I think I agree with you. Like, I think the quality is just that much higher than the Brentford squad, and I don't want this to be like, oh, they're just going for the same. I swear, like, as things go on now, I'm going to start changing up. But I'm going to go for Wolves as well because I don't want to be buying Josh's shirt. Chat to me about the next one.
Norwich City, Watford. This is a relegation battle already, and I am really tossing up here. I don't know who to pick. Norwich have the home advantage. I would say Watford have impressed me slightly more this season, but also Norwich have had a horror schedule of playing against some of the biggest sides in the competition and getting spanked. So I don't think that's a true reflection of where they are. You pick first.
I'm gonna go Norwich. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna go Norwich. I have a soft spot for them. I like Todd Cantwell.
Warming up with his headphones on. Yeah. That's a real Ryan vibe.
Back in the day. Remember that one game I played with a beanie on one time? Yep. That's just how I roll. But like I like their football. I think they're fast, they're exciting. So I'm gonna go Norwich.
I'm gonna be boring and go for a draw in this game.
Yeah, I thought you might, because you're that kind of guy. But here we go, Burnley Arsenal. So I got a bit of flack when I said Norwich would beat Arsenal, and some people were a bit unhappy with me. But the thing is, Arsenal only won 1-0, and even then, wasn't the best performance in the world.
No, although Tomiyasu impressed me on his debut. I think he adds a lot. I don't think they should be playing a back four still. We talked about this already, but I think he's a perfect player to play on the right of that back three. I don't think he's really a right back, but he still played well. And not having Xhaka available for selection was addition by subtraction. So, their midfield looked a bit better.
And they had Thomas Partey back in the side.
And the goal comes from a really pinpoint vertical pass from Thomas Partey. And they get a little bit lucky, of course, with the scramble at the end.
And I hear you. And you know what? I still don't care, because Burnley's going to get the double.
No, I reckon Arsenal make it 2 wins from 2.
Yeah, fair enough. I feel like I just threw away a point there, but that's cool.
Hey, Arsenal have struggled against Burnley in the past. There's been a lot of late equalisers and drama between Sean Dyche and these soft-centred, spoiled, overpaid Arsenal players. This is the classic Burnley upset, but I don't think it's going to happen this time. I think Arsenal are going to win.
I think the next game, though, is pretty straightforward. Man City, Southampton. Do we really have to talk about it that much?
No, I think Man City are going to win 3-0 and easy.
Yeah, light work for Man City. Then we move on. Liverpool, Crystal Palace. I think will be a cracking game. After watching Crystal Palace, but I think at Anfield, Liverpool get it done.
The only thing I think about when I see this fixture every year is Dwight Gale burying Liverpool's title hopes back in the Brendan Rodgers days. Of course, the monkey's off the back now. Look, Crystal Palace have been good so far this season, much to my surprise, but they did benefit from a red card and a penalty against Spurs, and they're much stronger at home. I think Liverpool will win this game, although there will be some, fatigue from the Champions League. They've got a tough game against Milan, of course. So, there might be a little bit of rotation, but I still think Liverpool will get the job done at home.
Aston Villa, Everton.
Interesting game, and a very tough one to pick. I mean, Aston Villa made all the headlines for their off-season signings, but, Everton have been the arguably the more professional and together outfit so far this year. I think it's taking time for those Villa midfielders to bed in, and of course Buendia came back late from international duty after the game was suspended in dramatic fashion after about 20 minutes. I think Everton have got the essential structure of the team right so far. And, it's a simple Rafa Benitez setup. It doesn't take long to bed in. I think the ceiling for Villa is higher this season if they can get all their new signings to gel. But I think Everton will probably win this game.
I got to back my dark horses. I talked a lot about them. I thought even though they lost against Chelsea, I thought there were good periods there. And also missing Buendia, and obviously Steer was in goal instead of Emi Martinez. And they're at home as well at Villa Park. So I reckon they'll get up over Rafa Benitez's Everton. Brighton, Leicester City.
Tough one. Very tough one for me. I really like Brighton, and they've been playing really well so far. And in that game against Brentford, they were surprisingly defensive. It was a really cagey match. Brighton are usually playing quite attacking football, and then failing to finish their chances and getting burned on the other end. But they kept it tight and left it till the last minute against Brentford. And that shows that they've got maybe the discipline to be able to not get caught by Jamie Vardy beating the offside trap. So I'm going to go for a draw in this game.
For a draw. Not surprised. I'm going to go for Leicester, just because I think they just have that bit more quality, and I reckon they can get it done even away from home. So I'm taking Leicester there. Next, West Ham against Manchester United.
Mikel Antonio did a very silly thing in stoppage time in a 0-0 game.
He did.
And that was to go straight through his opposition player and get a second yellow card for a challenge that probably deserved a straight red, so he can count himself lucky. The thing I didn't like about that is Southampton actually sprung away on the counter-attack immediately, and the referee had to stop the game because you can't play advantage if you're sending a player off, which I think is a glaring gap in the rules, because it doesn't do anything for Southampton, that there's a red card when there's only a minute to play. But for West Ham, it means they'll be without Mikel Antonio, and I think they'll really miss him. And I'm going to go for a United win.
And that brings us to the final fixture of the match day. A big London clash. Spurs against Chelsea.
Exciting.
I'm going to regret this. I'm going to regret this so much. Josh, I'm going to regret this. I'm going
You're
Spurs.
picking Spurs after the Crystal Palace game.
Look. Okay, for a couple of reasons. One, I like to see Chelsea lose. So I'm voting with heart more than head here. And two, they did beat City this season. I'm hoping that they can go back to that place where they can just pull off an upset. There's no stats or analytics or logic. I'm just going with all heart here.
It's a logic-free zone when Ryan tips. I am picking Chelsea, and I'm struggling to imagine a scenario this season where I don't tip Chelsea, such as the sturdiness of this side and the firepower they've got up front. I mean, even Mateo Kovacic, who I've been relentlessly critical of for his lack of movement off the ball and some of his decision making on the pitch, had an amazing game against Villa. His assist for Lukaku, where he beat two players. I mean, the guy can dribble his way past someone in a phone booth. It's ridiculous. And then the through ball to take another couple of players out of the game and find Lukaku was absolutely ridiculous. So everyone's in form for Chelsea. It's all coming up Chelsea, and I think it will continue against a Spurs side who's already paid the price for their conservatism. I do not like Nuno Espirito Santo and his management style. It's boring, and I the less of it I see, the better. So I don't even know if I'll stay up for this game.